3 minutes past the top of the hour. It is quite a chilly morning right here in Nairobi. Hope you're angukaring nayo in a very fantastic way wherever you are watching us. And we are welcoming you to talk to us. Number 2047 is our SMS number. 0793267279 is our WhatsApp number. Our phone numbers are also open. 0795045864 is our number to call us live. And this particular, being a Wednesday and being Wednesday morning, we're discussing matters relationships. Our question of the day is, should spouses share phone passwords? Spouses, girlfriends, boyfriends, partners, whatever time you'd really want to play around with it. But then, should you be sharing your passwords with your significant other? A couple of comments so far on our Facebook page at TV47KE. We've posted that question there. Unaweza enda pale and talk to us. Utuambie what you think about this question. Should you be sharing your password with your significant other? And to help us have this conversation, now watuambie kama pia wao they also share. Nasim Kath as well as Dr. Julius Kimani, karibuni sana.
Thank you.
I'll start with you, Nasim. A brief intro of well, who you are. Then we go to Dr.
My name is Nasim Nkatha. I'm a psychologist and also the CEO and founder of HUGS organization. It's a mental health organization where we create awareness around mental health. Our main focus are adolescents and youths.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dr.
Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Julius, and I'm a counseling psychologist. I'm also a pastor and also a businessman, and specializing mainly when it comes to relationships, mainly marriage and people who are planning to get married.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right. My African proverb, as well as do every single Wednesday morning, is from Madagascar. It says, "Don't be so in love that you can't tell when it's raining." Don't be so in love that you can't tell when it's raining. Nasim, what do you make of this proverb?
Don't be so in love you can't tell when it's raining. Don't get lost into it. That's what I'd say. Like, you still need to figure out who you are at the end of the day. At times we get so immersed into the relationship that we forget who we are, what our values are, and everything. So I feel like that's what it means.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The reason I chose this, Dr. I feel like it really resonates to this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
What do you make of it? Don't be so in love that you can't tell when it's raining.
I think I would say it simply means don't be so deep blinded by the aspect that you love the other person that you don't realize when wrong things begin to happen in that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are people who don't see. They realize too late that actually either somebody was cheating or somebody moved on a long time ago. So they never knew when it started raining. Mm-hmm. That's what I think.
Is there in here our gadgets? Our phone gadgets, because I mean in this digital age, umeshinda nayo, umeamka asubuhi with your significant other, umeangalia, you use the phone as well as the other person there. The entire day you will be with your gadget as well as your person there. In this kind of a setup, in a context, right now are our gadgets the rain that started beating us?
Yes and no. I feel like, yes, our gadgets are like our second partner, you know, the third party in the relationship, but it also depends with what you're doing with that phone. But at the end of it all, it's not just about the phone, it's also about the trust that you have with each other. Because if I trust my partner enough that he won't go pick a call in the washrooms so that I can't hear what they're saying, then I feel like we're good. But if we start having those situations whereby I'm reaching out for the remote and they start panicking, thinking I'm reaching out for their phone, then it shows there's something wrong, there's something happening within the phone that, you know, I need to know about. But yeah, I don't feel it's more about the gadgets per se, but it's more about the trust we have with each other.
The trust. And I think we'll be throwing around that word, tukiendelea sana. But then speak of which, so Daktari, in your, from where you sit, how will you define privacy, particularly now, kwa relationship?
I think privacy, I would look at it as some of the things your own boundaries that you have as a person. Just like right now, you can be the same person in the house, but there are some things that you need to do that do not necessarily be known by your spouse. Let me give an example. For example, like when you go to the bathroom, I mean, your spouse knows that you're in the bathroom, but they don't need to open the door and begin to see in the name of saying that you're a transparent person. It's a private affair. So I'm saying there are some things, privacy would define it, there are some things that you just need to do, you alone you're doing, but it is not a secret. Like when you leave as a person, when you leave to go to the bathroom, it's not a secret. But there is a privacy in that particular room. So every relationship, I would say, requires that aspect of privacy, a boundary that, yes, they know what you're doing, but they don't have to be there when you're doing it. Or you don't have to explain what you're doing. That's privacy.
And Asim, how about you? And particularly now, even from a lady's perspective, does someone actually need privacy in a relationship, really?
Yes, I feel like a relationship wouldn't be a relationship if we're first of all not individually ourselves, you know, and that means privacy. Like you said, you can't talk about privacy without mentioning boundaries. We need to have boundaries. You don't need to be in everything. You know, you don't need to know everything about me. You know, I know it sounds a little bit off, but I feel like privacy is the spice that we need in a relationship. Because if I get to know everything about you, then you know, it becomes stale, you know. So we all need to have our individual lives, as long as whatever it is that I'm doing in my private life does not infringe on our relationship or your personal life, then I feel like we're good. But this thing of I need to know everything about you, I need to know where you are, what you're doing, and so on and so forth, then I feel like that's where now problems start coming in. Because if I don't report back to you, then you start thinking I'm doing something outside the norms. Because remember, before we started dating, I had a life of my own, you know. But now that we're dating, we need to now find a balance between the life I had on my own and the life that we are building together. So without that aspect of privacy, then I'll start feeling like I'm becoming a slave to whatever it is that you're doing, and that's what breeds resentment. Because with time, I'll start realizing I'm missing out on who I was, trying to fit into this little box that you want to put me into.
So who should now be setting that this is private? So is it now my significant other saying, I need to know certain aspects of your life, then now it's my role to bring them out? Or it's me to gauge and see, well, you don't need to know that, and also I'm not telling you that.
So first things first, before I even get into this relationship, I need to understand my safety and security needs. By understanding my safety and security needs, then I know how I'm drawing the line between what you need to know and what you don't need to know. If it's something that is going to affect both of us, then by all means you need to know that. But if it's something that I was doing way before we got to meet, and I feel like we've maybe had this conversation in no way is it affecting the life that you and I have together, then I feel like I need to maintain my privacy just a little bit. Because I feel without privacy, then we get to lose our sense of self, you know. So understanding that I'm not infringing on your security needs, on your safety needs and everything, then I feel some kidogo privacy is good. I'm not saying that when you ask me a question, I'm like, that is just private. No, I can have a conversation with you, but drain those boundaries of this is what's happening, but beyond that, then you'll be utakuwa unanichunguza sana or something.
And actually, for you to even realize that, for two people, you need to have known each other for a certain amount of time. Because I feel like it wouldn't make sense that you've started dating today on a Wednesday, and by next week on Wednesday you want to know literally everything. You know, there has to be that amount of time. So when should you start even introducing some of these liberties? Ni a month, ni 2 months, ni after 6 months, unasema okay fine, tumekuwa na wewe 6 months, I have trusted you to this level, so fine. Ama ni a couple of years, nimeona wewe, by the way, I can trust you. What's the time length here?
I usually say the time is dependent on the people who are dating. Mm-hmm. And you'll always know when this thing is getting deeper. And when it is getting deeper, then you can begin to open up and begin to share some of the things that could be necessary. But I have to be so sure that by the time I'm beginning to reveal some things about me, then we are heading somewhere. Mm-hmm. Because if I meet the first day and, for example, I know maybe you're not even interested in, for example, marrying me or getting married to me, then I have no problem if I begin to share and I say I have 5 kids that are not from the same father. I'll have no problem because there's no way it is going. But at the same time, if I know that this is the person I'm interested in, I will weigh carefully and know when is the right time to communicate this information. There are moments when it could be too late, where maybe the person discovers when they have already committed themselves too much and they discover some things about you that, as she said, there are things that cannot be hidden. For example, you can't hide about kids. Mm-hmm. You can't hide about, for example, there are people who have already been declared not fertile. Yeah. They cannot, maybe it's a lady, she cannot get kids. Mm-hmm. Maybe a man has already been told by the doctor, from our analysis, you cannot get kids. I think this is something that you cannot hide from your spouse. And we have seen some of the things that we are saying are private, some of those issues you can't tell the public, but you need to inform your spouse. So when they are getting into a relationship, they know that this is what I'm facing. For example, we have couples who you find somebody comes in, they like each other, but a person is maybe HIV positive. And there are people who are like, even if you're HIV, you will still get married. Mm-hmm. You see, that's not something you can keep private. Yeah. So you have to know. You have to be so sure about some things you can't keep private. Number one, your health issues. Mm-hmm. You can't stay away with them. You can't say that, for example, you know in your family this is bound to happen, then you keep quiet about health issues. Number two, your financial status. You can't keep it private if you're going to get into a relationship with somebody. Because eventually, if you are carrying a heavy debt, it will be your debt, both of you, mm-hmm. and it will weigh on both of you. There are some things maybe that are in public domain that you can't keep quiet about. They have already happened. Maybe you are in prison, and if your spouse decides to go digital and check a few things, they may find you there. Yeah. I have seen couples who have broken up because of examination results. Yeah. Somebody comes and says, you look at a gentleman, he's doing well, and the lady gets into a relationship. But maybe her interest was, are we in the same level? Maybe she's university, this guy maybe did Form 4. And because he's successful, they get into a relationship. But the woman's need, according to her, is, I want a guy who is educated. Now later, she discovers probably you got a D in KCSE, but you're successful. But her liking for you is so much associated with academics that it may blow up things. So there are things, there are bare minimums that you have to put on the table when it comes to getting deeper into a relationship. There are things you can't hide.
So you know, utakuwa ingia relationship na file mzima. Umeweka hadi KCPE results, you know.
This is me.
This is me.
You like me or
and everything. I just even because I was actually asking for the time length. Mm-hmm. So there isn't a certain particular time length that one needs, according to you?
I think by the time, if it's a serious relationship, by the time you're getting to 6 months, there are things you should begin to lay on the table. Because if you're not opening up at all, because a relationship, again, as we continue, it's about transparency. Yeah. And it is not transparency where you open up everything, but there is also a selective transparency. So you have to begin to release some issues on the table, the things that you know, hii nikikosa kusema sahi, if I say it later, it may bring issues. So start early.
Right. And as you say, I mean, some things are quite easier to lay it on the table, zingine ni ngumu. And even to help the viewer understand, let's say when you talk about passwords, the SIM and all that, let's take a look at the kind of accounts that most couples would really want to hide. Video streaming services, which is a bank peer. Banks as you come how easy or hard it is. What else? Music streaming services, mobile passcode, email passcode, food, as well as credit and social media accounts. Kuna zile ni rahisi, nakupea account yangu Spotify, sawa, or Netflix, you have fun with it. But then for WhatsApp, I'd be ish about it. But then it also takes time to even agree and say, okay, fine, this is my passcode to my WhatsApp. Why is it that, I mean, for some it's easier, and yet others, you'd really have to build that trust, and still even building the trust, Nasim. What are you looking for here when you're building this trust with this person?
I'll go back to the whole concept of safety and security needs. When I have a client that has attachment issues, the first few steps we go through is that aspect of safety and security needs. Do you understand what keeps you safe? Do you understand what makes you feel secure? When you talk about safety, we're talking about physical, in terms of, you know, he can't hit you, you know, he'll protect you in case you get mugged or something, you know, such. And then when you talk about security, we're talking about the emotional aspect of it. Affirmations, you know, I can trust him. He can go out and, you know, hang out with the boys, and I won't keep on checking up on him, umefika wapi, unakurudisha ngapi, because I feel secure enough to know nothing will happen outside them. So the same thing now trickles down to the whole aspect of privacy and transparency. So if it's WhatsApp, am I secure enough to know my man can talk and, you know, chat with people and everything without necessarily cheating on me or, you know, doing anything that will affect our relationship. So if I first of all need, this whole thing first of all needs to start with you as an individual. Understand yourself well, understand your insecurities. If I know I'm someone that is insecure, then it means I need constant reassurance. Can my partner provide the constant reassurance? Does this constant reassurance come with also transparency, whereby I need to have access to his phones and everything? And also I feel like that is pushing it a little bit. So you need to figure out the balance. Where is the in between? What do we compromise on as the two of us? Tunapatania wapi katikati? So if my man knows I'm a little insecure, and every time he's smiling on his phone and everything, I need to know unaongea na nani and so on, he can just be like, oh, XYZ sent a meme, shows you the meme and everything, and that's it. So that at least reassures, you know, your partner that, oh, ana chat. So the next time I see you smiling on your phone, I won't panic or anything, because I know it's either you're chatting with the boys or a group or something, because you've constantly generated that aspect of this is what's happening. So once in a while, so the next time I see you doing that, I'll be reassured enough to know I don't even need to ask, because, you know, this is what's happening. So the minute we start curating such, you know, spaces within our relationship, then that's how we build on this trust. But now I ask you, una chat na nani, and then all of a sudden umeka simu chini, you're like nothing, you know. So I'll be like, okay. So either it's a girl or something is happening, and then it will start making me, you know, become more insecure and everything. So it's just that aspect of understanding each other and knowing what your partner needs. But then again, not manipulating it in a way that you know when to do this, you know when to hide, and so on and so forth. So I feel like this whole aspect of transparency and privacy is very subjective. Let me say it that way. It's very subjective depending on the couple. There's some people that want everything laid on the table, like you said, and there's some who want to leave that room of, you know, privacy and whatnot, you know. So we need to figure out each other, understand each other first, and before we understand each other, we first of all need to understand ourselves first, so that when we're having that conversation, I'll tell you I'm a very insecure person from maybe past experiences and everything. My previous ex used to do this and that, so moving forward, how do we work around that? So once you come up with something around that, then I don't need to have your passwords and everything to feel safe or secure in the relationship.
Because Ledema says someone giving out all the passwords day one, you need a red flag.
A very big red flag.
Oh, it's a red flag actually.
You've just met me. You know, we've just met. You don't know if you want to go. Most of the time, we need to also understand what trauma responses are. At times, there's certain things we do as a trauma response. In the sense, by trauma response, I mean, I've been hurt for so long that I feel like I need to show you who I am for you to take me wholly and everything and accept me because of the bad experiences I've had before. And when you talk about trauma, most people feel like trauma is just physical. We can also have emotional trauma. And this is where also you find people who trauma dump. I've met you the first day and I'm telling you everything about me and so on. I'm giving you all my traumas, and it's nothing. There's nothing wrong with opening up and so on, but where do we draw that line between a trauma response and actually being genuine and being open? So if someone comes and opens up immediately the first day you meet, to be honest, it's kidogo a red flag, because now it means they're carrying a lot within them.
Doctor, do you agree? I mean, I come to her, tell her, look, I like you, so these are all my passwords here. At her email, shika yote. Plus, again, there's a whole bit of, we're told men tend to forget a lot. So you'd find the woman has, and I think this, most would really, even for the mums, they have quite a number of passwords for their fathers, just in case asahau. So come to her and tell her, these are all my passwords. Will that be a red flag?
I think so, because you see, you have already opened up so much. The sweetness of relationship is a mystery. That's what makes a relationship sweet. There are things you really don't know about the other person. Yes, you know them to a certain extent, but there are some things that they still maintain to a level that they don't expose themselves 100%. And I'm not saying the bad things. You know, there are people who will tell you, well, nijui, and it's a threat. Now we are talking about the other side, where you find somebody is mysterious a little bit. So when somebody comes up and says in the first instance that this is my password or whatever, that is somebody already who is very insecure. They are already afraid. They're trying to show you I'm an open book, and so you should trust me. And I believe today, even if you look at the good book, the Bible, we are still trying to discover who God is. He has so much secrets about himself, and that's what makes us
thousands of years later.
Thousands of years. Nobody can say I have a monopoly on knowing him. So in the same way, he has created us in that image, that there are levels we want to keep on discovering, and that's what spices up any relationship. And I'm not saying about secrecy. You know, secrecy is where you are hiding something that is sinister from your significant other. But privacy is something the other person will treasure about you. They don't know exactly about you. But if they wanted to know, you still tell them, I will give you the information. And I will use an example of this phone. You know, how many times do you, as a dude, you go out and you talk with guys? And probably if your girlfriend or your wife steps in, you'll keep quiet. Not that you're talking some dirty things, but it's simply there is a man's conversation that you're having there that you
is just
feel,
really men.
This person has entered into your WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
And that's what I usually say, like a phone. A WhatsApp is usually a conversation between maybe 2 or 3 people. Yeah. And you can't listen to every conversation. You don't come home and you say, because that's what sometimes people will try to do. Your WhatsApp needs to be open to me. There are people, you don't come home and you tell, for example, your wife or your husband, everything that you spoke with the guys out there. You'll mention a few things here and there. That is the same thing. This WhatsApp is simply you have brought in people into your home and you're having a conversation online. Now, your spouse does not need to keep on knowing, if somebody is keeping asking for your phone to see what is written there, that person is also indicating a sense of a high level insecurity. Am I saying that you can't give the password? You can. If somebody feels there is something I need to check. Like, I will give an example. My phone, my wife knows the password.
Zote.
But it's only one. But my kids know the password.
Social media hazina password.
Hazina password. My kids know the password. So they can be able to go there and check a few things. But they respect my privacy. She won't take my phone and begin to go through the WhatsApp. She won't pick my phone and begin to go through Facebook page or whatever.
Your bank anajua ama?
The bank details she knows. But she won't go again. The privacy is she won't go again there and withdraw money simply because she has the passwords. She still respects that privacy. So we are simply saying privacy is that invisible boundary that you need to respect. That yes, I can see this is a phone and he's having a conversation, but there is a boundary. I will not grab his phone and say, who are you talking to? I can ask, who are you talking to? And if he chooses not to show me, I will not go looking for ways on how. You know, there are guys nasikiaga usiku, wanaamusha usiku wanekeshwa kidole. Then they
mtu ana scroll, unapata analia hapo.
Now let me tell you the truth. If you are looking for funny things in anyone's phone, you're bound to find them. You will find somebody. You are a social media. I mean, you're a media guy. Somebody will write to you, amekuandikia hapo, hi sweetheart, and you don't even know them. So if somebody wants to see that, they may find it. And then, you know, they will ignore the fact that maybe there was no conversation. So all I'm saying is that privacy is important. People need to respect each other's boundaries. But where there is a level of insecurity, then probably you may need to open up and say, this is it, like what you're saying. It's just a meme that was sense. But there is also another thing, you can't feed on an insecurity of another person, that now every day you're trying to leave your phone open there so that you can make the other person to feel secure. An insecure person will not feel secure no matter how much you open. You can even open all your ribs and show them your heart, and they will still say there's something inside that heart that I don't know. You open up the heart, they say, imeenda mali pengine. So they might open up, they might cut you up all the way to the end and still doubt you.
All right. And speaking of opening up, that's what probably would love you to do. If you may, 0795-045-864 is the number to call us live. We'll be definitely happy to hear your voice. Tell us where you your name, where you're calling us from. When you're calling us, tafadhali mute TV ama have it off, and you tuko na very easy kind of a conversation. Our team will be picking your call, then ituletea hapa hivi ndani ya studio, ongea na sisi in case you have any questions ama feedback. Na mbiko hapo tu chini ya screen, weka credit sign, then you can call us. Or rather, you can text us on WhatsApp 0793-267-279. That number is also on the screens. We've posted the same question. We're asking you, should spouses share phone passwords? Quite a number of your feedback coming in. Tuwei Enoch anasema phones passwords are private. They should never be shared. Furthermore, they may bring chaos in the family. I'll sample a couple of them, then get your sentiments on that. Plan Isaac Misoe anasema hashtag Morning Cafe. Since 2016, my phone knows no passwords. On realizing so, my wife also decided not to put any password on her phone. So it's a matter of maturity and transparency. Clementine Namai, ulisikia wapi na tangulini? Haiwezekani bana, hiyo ni kujitakia stress za bure bana. Federico Mbugo, if you want to share, just share it and don't complain to us if you start getting unnecessary high blood pressure, etc. The choice is yours. Another one, why do we need passwords in the first place? Are we that insecure? Sheila Solomon, 8 years fresh, my spouse knows no passwords, and I know this. This has worked perfectly on us. Openness and transparency is priceless. Well, this is, I mean, what people are saying. Some have tried it for years, and someone says, yeah, hakweka, and then the significant other realized, well, my significant other doesn't have a password. Wacha pia mimi nitoe. For some, Sheila anasema 8 years fresh. Yeah, imekuwa sawa sawa. Now for those ones who passwords ziko bado, I mean, at the end of the day, you definitely, let's say, need, I mean, if you have children, you won't want now them to also get into your phone and after Nkoni said in a game anaingia and start sharing some funny messages on some important WhatsApp groups. That would definitely be there. I mean, definitely. But then now for someone who akianza kutafuta venye alikuwa nasema daktari, you know, you're scrolling through all these chats. Typically, what is someone looking for that time? Because at the back of the head, they know or they have an idea that mpuangu maybe anachita ama kuna mtu anaongea naye. But at this time, what are they looking for exactly?
So this boils back to insecurity, and no one wakes up just one morning and decides, I'm going to go through my partner's phone. There has to be something that triggered that. you know, either he did something or you suspected something, and because you don't want to communicate, because I remember there's a conversation we've had here before on matters communication, so I don't communicate, I don't say I suspect this and that. For us to have an open conversation around it. Now I'll start now waiting for you to fall asleep. I come get your, you know, face scan or, you know, your fingerprint to open up your phone and do this. So that is from, I normally say when it comes to such situations, there's the individual issues, like it's a you problem. Right. So if it's insecurities, first things first, I know it sounds wrong, but it's a you problem. So that is something you need to figure out and figure out how to work around it and how to resolve your insecurities.
Right. Let's pick this call kutoka Kakamega. Max, habari asubuhi, watu wa Kakamega mnaendeleaje?
Tuko salama.
Thank you for calling us this morning. Uko na swali au maoni na conversations, sijui kama you share your passwords ama phone yako iko very empty?
Phone yangu iko na password.
Yes, endelea, tunakusikia. Max, I hope umemute TV, usijisikilize sahi. Uko na swali au maoni?
Ni maoni.
Yes, endelea.
Nimewaikia kitu nikifungua TV lakini napata call live.
Umeweka password kwa simu ndio labda kama uko na mpoa asione ama? Okay, kama Max ameenda. 0795045864 is the number to call us live. Asante sana Max kwa kutupigia simu. You could always call us and ask if you have, because I mean, do you have the right minds for this conversation? Koko na maswali ya kuuliza or just maonis. Do you have passwords that you umeweka ndio your significant other asiingie into some social media accounts or other accounts all together? So, I mean, before that call, you're helping us analyze what exactly, because mtu hakuamka asubuhi, yes, kuanza kuscroll atafute kama ni that message, alisearch pale WhatsApp akaona akasearch I love you, nyingi zika pop up. That's equal day one. So what exactly is this person looking for? Is it validation that this person still loves them? Mama ni nini?
Obviously, they want to hear this person means nothing, there's nothing much to eat. Or they just want to know, moving forward, what does this relationship mean? Are you bringing in a second wife? Am I leaving and whatnot? But I was mentioning something in regards to insecurities. We all have insecurities. Even the person that has a secure attachment, there's some tad bit of some sort of insecurity that they have, and they're always triggered by something. So once you understand that by yourself and you know what soothes your anxious attachment or your insecure attachment and everything, then first of all you need to figure out how do you resolve that within yourself first, and then how can now your partner, what role does your partner need to play in resolving your insecurities or, you know, assuring you and everything. So if it's validation that you need, then have that conversation with your partner.
Right. Tuko na Zach kutoka Machakos. Zach, habari asubuhi, watu wa Masako mnaendeleaje?
Tuko salama and good morning.
And good morning to you. Uko na maoni on this conversation, matters privacy versus transparency for relationship?
Well, mine, we just say it all depends with the level of the friendship. If I'm having you for fun, there is no business with you knowing my passcode. But if it's for marriage, it's very important because sometimes something may happen and you find that you have some property and no one knows about them. So they end up getting lost because you never share the passcode with anyone. So if it's for friendship, for fun, you have no business knowing my passcode. But if it's for marriage, it's for life, after some time, you'll need his passcode.
So before marriage, hakuna haja umpatie password zote?
Anazihitaji kwa sababu gani? Sioni muhimu wowote.
Thank you very much, Zach kutoka Machako. Salimia sana watu wa Masako.
Okay.
Right. I think he just picked out whatever I was about to ask you and examine the difference between just a relationship, because I mean here you haven't set some particular boundaries, bado hamjasema this is what we are doing really. As compared to now marriage, it's a whole institution now. We agree, fine, we are man and wife. how do the similarities come in when it comes to privacy? Does it mean that when you get into a marriage, you have to shed off some privacy issues?
True. You see, I always compare marriage like an organization. When you're outside, there is very little. You only know the products that are sold maybe by that organization. But when you get into the organization, they begin to show you the books. They show you how they manufacture. They even give you some secret keys of that you can be able to access certain places. Like for the accountant, mostly they know the bank account. They even know how much money is in the bank. That's an organization. Marriage is the same. You find by the time you come in, there are things that have to be open. And that's why even the Word of God says they were naked and they were not ashamed. Mm-hmm. You begin to realize that there are things you have to open up and the other person has to know. And the more transparent you are in a marriage, the better it becomes. Because that person, as she said, everybody has a level of insecurity. And when they get into a relationship, they always bring these insecurities with them. They don't end in one day. But in the process of working together and revealing to each other some of the things about yourself, you will begin to see the insecurities will begin to go down. So I believe you may not be able to open up immediately, because some people, their insecurity is actually their passwords being known. So they are afraid of exposing their password because maybe in the past some bad things have happened. They have lost a relationship because maybe you gave a password and they took away all your money. So they have entered into that relationship with a level of insecurity. But as they walk, I like that lady who said that the husband opened up his passwords and the wife followed suit. So it is, you have to keep on dropping the clothes. It's like when you get married, maybe you don't even know each other. Mm-hmm. But what happens is that you begin to drop maybe the coat, the shirt, the shoes, the socks, and all that. Eventually, you discover that you know this other person. So it is the same way. You have to walk the journey of being open to each other and revealing yourself. But, as I said, there are times you find men or women have kept passwords on their phones because they know how their spouse will react. Mm-hmm. I have heard of people who have called, assuming it's a woman, she calls all the women on the phone, calling them names. Are you having a relationship with my husband? And it may destroy the business of the husband, probably because he deals with beauty products. So if you know your spouse is a nuclear reactor, a password would be important to have it instead of having battles every day. Namwambia tu kweli, hii password sikupi, kwa sababu wewe unachokoraga huko, unapata vitu zingine hata si za ukweli, unaleta vita. So ndio to avoid vita, nimeweka password.
Okay, when you mention it like that, does this now person become even more curious? If I come to you and actually tell you, niko na password hapa, sikupati, because najua utaingia hapa. So that means that there might be something to find here.
I feel like it's just about the conversation and communication, how you approach the situation. Because personally, if you tell me niko na password and najua utaingia kwa simu yangu, so nimeka password ndio usinge, I'll start asking questions because okay, nani utaki nione unaongea. But now if you come and tell me from the past experiences, you've gone through my phone, you know I deal with, like you said, beauty products and everything. I have female clients and you keep on calling them and what inaniharibia biz. So nimeka password to avoid such situations. So if you come to me and approach it in that way, I'll realize, oh okay, ntajita kamkutano enyewe, I went and called almost everyone and I didn't find anything. So it means back to me figuring out how I need to deal with my insecurities and now how I need to resolve them. But ukiniambia tu plain ati I have this and that and I'm hiding it from you, of course I'll start asking questions and I'll wait for you to sleep and I'll take your fingerprints.
or rather, because I feel like if you now have, let's say for the WhatsApp, just for your typical normal conversations, and then come on your WhatsApp, come on your business, this is just purely now for, come on your example, your beauty products. So even your significant other knows that this WhatsApp in your biashara, any other conversation that happens here is purely business. And ingine ni sasa maybe yenye sita za kuwa na pin. You agree, Dr.?
You know, I agree. It may reach a place whereby maybe you need to have two phones if one is for business. Like I have seen people, especially guys who deal with the guys. You find they also have particular clients. You may find there's for example, a lady who just wants to be carried by this guy because anamjua vizuri.
Na hata time anampigia
anaweza mpigia hata saa 4 amwambie kuja nichukue mali fulani. And this is purely business. So I think couples need to be so open in such a way that respect my business, understand my business and the nature of my business, understand the way we converse in organization. For example, you could be working together in an organization here and you find there is maybe one particular lady who calls everybody darling. Now, if your wife comes and finds that you are being called darling, she may react or he may react. But that's where you need to have a good understanding. Umwambie, there are things that are private. In an organization, if you snoop in conversation in an organization, you may find some things there that you may misinterpret. So the most important thing is creating, as I said, healthy boundaries. Let us, kama ni simu ya kazi, let it be kept to ni ya kazi. If it is this one for home, again, you have to keep it open. And I've discovered, and I'm saying from myself, that it is open. I have discovered that even my son and my daughter, we rarely go to the places they will not be looking for funny things. Why? Because they know, just like in the home, they don't come stepping into the bedroom carelessly. They have also known that this phone, there are things I will not look for. So it is all about maturity in a relationship that you have that will cause that transparency to happen. And the more mature you are, the more easier it is for anyone to open up and say, this is who I am.
All right.
Yes.
Eventually have a caller. Kalisto kutoka wapi?
Uganda kutoka Mumias.
Asante sana kwa kutupigia Kalisto. Uko na maswali au maoni on this conversation tunaongelea?
Ni maoni.
Yes.
Unajua kwa relationship wakati mnakaa pamoja. Inafaa uambie mwenzako simu yangu ni yangu, yako ni yako. Sitaguza yako, usiguze yako. Kwa sababu unajua simu ni kama shetani. Na ndio huwa inaleta mgawanyiko na mtengano kwa nyumba. So ni mzuri mimi ni deal na simu yangu, wewe deal na yako. Hata nikipigiwa kama uko karibu nayo, wewe chukua tu, pitisha kama unapitisha mkate, usiangalie nani anapiga nipatie. Na kama mimi nimekaa karibu na yako, mimi nitapitisha yako nikupatie. Na sitaki kuulizana maswali mingi kwa sababu ukianza kuchunguza simu ya mtu, hapo ndio unaharibu. So ni mzuri ukae na simu yako, mimi nikae na yangu, tutaishi hata mimi niliambia wangu, simu yako ni yako, yangu ni yangu. Sasa hapo tunaishi vizuri na aguzi simu yangu na mimi siguzi yake.
Lakini for instance au dhani ukiacha password hivyo umwambie unaweza angalia kitu unataka.
Simu yangu sijaweka password by the way. Mbele ya Mungu sijaiweka simu yangu password na ni hivyo inakaa hivyo. Lakini mimi nilimwambia simu yangu ni yangu, yako ni yako. Sitachunguza yako. Na unajua simu akianza kuchunguza mwanzo kuchunguza yake utapatwa na hata attack. Sasa badala ya hiyo acha kila mtu akae na simu yake, chunguza simu ya mtu. Ataishi vizuri.
So hata M-Pesa pin anajua yote.
Hapo kwa M-Pesa pin hapo ndio hapo hapana.
Hapo ulisema hapana. Kila mtu akae na yake.
Hapo kila mtu akae na yake. Ndio saa nyingine kuna wizi zinazotendeka ilete shida kwa nyumba. So acha mimi nikae na pin yangu ya M-Pesa yake akae na yake, lakini simu kwanza kuchunguza simu ya mtu hiyo sio kitu mzuri, hiyo ni kitu mbaya sana by the way.
So
italeta shida kwa nyumba, mtatengana. Unapata mtu amelala ameshika pilo. Umelala na by 11, so hiyo sio mzuri.
So asante sana Faristo. Salimia sana watu wa Mumias. Haya. Maoni yake he sounds like quite a gentleman who has seen the years on this earth. And there's that different dynamics of how different generations really work in this. Because right now, for us, even Gen Z and even some millennials, they have grown up in the digital age. So they've grown up knowing that I need this password for this and this and this. So for them, even setting some of these boundaries, it's easier. But then even for the older folk, imewapata tayari kushaingia into a relationship, into marriage already. It came with time. So understanding the dynamics of it, you're learning on the job on this, compared to the other generation who they already know the benefits, the ups and downs of it before they get into it. How do these dynamics play, Dr.
At the end of the day, our phones are not humans. It's like a car. When we see cars being driven on the road, they are humans who are driving them. They are not driving themselves. So if you see a crazy, ukiona gari inaendeshwa vibaya, just know there's a crazy driver behind the car. Behind the wheel. And so in the same way, this phone behaves the way you behave. If you are a cheat, you will cheat with this phone. If you're a person of integrity, this phone, you will do things of integrity. And so I think we need not to blame phones.
All right.
Yes.
We actually have Samuel kutoka Migori. Samuel, habari ya asubuhi, watu wa Migori, I hope mko salama.
Salama.
Yes, unazungumza na Stanley hapa kwa studio. Uko na maoni ama swali kwa hii conversation yetu?
Ni swali.
Swali?
Yes.
Yes, uliza.
How do we take the constant transmission?
Sorry, Rudia. Yes.
How best can we treat constant suspicion when a partner keeps on repercutating negative ideas in the past?
How best do you? I've had the constant suspicion. Rudia.
Constant suspicion in the house.
How do you deal with that?
Yeah.
Okay, sawa. Thank you, Samuel kutoka Migori. Nasim, how do you deal with constant suspicion?
Like we said, there always has to be a trigger. Is suspicion inatoka wapi? What led to your partner always constantly suspecting you? Is it a history that maybe you once did something that led to this? It can be that, or it can also be maybe your partner is also insecure. So you need to really understand the dynamics, what the trigger is, and then from there you can now start resolving it from the trigger. So let's say, for instance, if your partner is insecure, because I feel like today we'll talk a lot about insecurities. Yeah. If your partner is insecure, like you said, an insecure person is an insecure person. Unaweza pumua tu vifani and then they feel like,
akwambia siku zingine upumuange.
Yeah, mbona leo unapumua vifani hivyo. So it means this person needs to first of all learn how to resolve the insecurities, and that is I normally tell people, you can never be your partner's therapist. So they need to figure out how to find a therapist and resolve those things that are happening within them.
Is this the same bit if you've been with this person for, let's say, 3 years plus in a relationship? No passwords. Wengine hapo wanasema 8 years. And then one day, umeshika simu yake, umezoea, hakuna passwords, ndio? Umeangalia, then unapata, boom, there's a password. Ameka. And for all these years, there was no password. Does it have to do with matters in security, or rather, do you even have to ask, mbona leo umeamua uweke password?
You will ask, because again, humans are creatures of habit. So if you've been doing something a certain way, and then all of a sudden, out of the blues, you've changed and you're having all these passwords and everything, I will ask questions like, what happened? Like, what led to this? Because it will create questions. So I feel like you said, consistency. If you're doing certain things, usi change, fuatilia to your trajectory because if you change, then I'll start having questions. And,
right. Na tuko na Charles still in Migori. Director anauliza watu wa Nyanza unaenda aje leo? Charles, habari ya Migori, mnaendeleaje huko Migori?
Niko salama kabisa.
Yes, asante sana kwa kutupigia. Unazungumza na Stanley hapa kwa studio. Uko na maoni au swali?
Niko na maoni.
Yes.
Mimi kitu naweza kusema ni kwamba unajua sisi wanaume unaweza kuamini sisi. lakini wanawake huwezi kuamini mwanamke hata kidogo.
Kwa nini Charles?
Sababu hata ukiona yuko katika ile shamba la Eden, unaona mwanamke alienda peke yake na Shetani mpaka akaleta ile matunda na wakafukuzwa na Mungu.
Lakini sio ni mmoja.
So hata mwanamke unaweza pata kwamba alikutegea tu, unaweza peka kwa bank, unajua pia account kumbe anangoja pesa ikuwe mingi milioni kama pili. Niseme unakuta uliambia kila kitu ameenda. Amekuaje na hiyo milioni yote ameiba ameenda nayo.
So Charles, unaona haufai kupatiana password yako?
Mwanamke bwana, huwezi kuamini mwanamke. Labda ni moja kati ya milioni.
Na yeye atakupatia password yake?
Hapana, yeye kama ako na simu yake afanye DPD yake, mimi pesa yangu ni yangu, yake akuwe tu yake na tuizi tu kwa amani. Sasa akiiba yake aende tu na yake na yangu ibaki tu yangu. Sababu ukiamini yeye, mimi nakwambia ndugu yako utakuja kulia. Sababu mwanamke hata kama huko naye kwa duka atakuwa anachukua pesa pole tu mpaka duka ifilisike. Na utakuwa unasema kwamba uniamini yeye sana.
Any personal experience Charles unatuambia ama unaongea tu generally?
Asante.
So, asante sana Charles kutoka Migori. Thank you very much. Usalimia sana Migori. Wow. He brings something that I also wanted to raise on how different genders, as much as we're really having it as an umbrella and generalizing it, but then in your view, all this year's experience, talking to different couples, between a man and a woman, how psychologically they'd want to even share the private stuff as compared to a woman. Who is more susceptible to be quick to share some of this stuff when the private life as well as even passwords and generally what is happening in the private life?
I will say it takes longer for a man to trust. No, and you can see it from the perspective of ladies can meet two ladies anywhere and they strike a conversation and you find they are already discussing about their deep issues. And they will even pick up the emotions, and I mean, I've seen it with my wife. They will go meet with friends and she comes back and she will even give details about a new person they met and who probably the husband is and the children and all that.
Men, we don't
and it is just a normal conversation. They open up very easily. But now when it comes to men, a man will be in a group of other men, they will have a conversation and he can leave that place and commit suicide. And no man.
Yeah, and you'd be there, you don't even know this man's name.
You don't even know the name. In fact, today, I was coming here. A guy saw me in the supermarket, he said, I think I know you. And he remembered we were in high school together, the same high school. And I didn't ask his name, he didn't ask my name. And we just left that way. But ladies, you will not meet that you're in high school. The next thing will be like, your name, share numbers and all that. So I find it, men have a bigger problem trusting than the ladies. But when men trust, that is another issue. Now when men trust, they can open up to everything. And that's why that gentleman from Migori is saying,
Charles,
he has learned from experience, maybe he has trusted a few and every time they disappeared with his money.
Okay. Na wewe tuko na William from, William kutoka wapi? Nairobi. Hello William.
Yes.
Habari ya asubuhi?
Mzuri.
Unatupigia ukiwa wapi?
Mimi niko Nairobi hapa Umoja.
Thank you for calling. Uko na maoni on this conversation, privacy versus transparency in a relationship?
Yeah, niko na maoni.
Yes.
My concern is,
okay,
you know, our wives come from the Delilah generation.
Right.
And you know, we always believe the Bible. You know what happened when Samson sought a wife to pass? That was his life. The moment the wife of Samson learned the secret of the password of the life of Samson, that was the end of Samson. So our wives, hello?
Hello, yes, we can hear you. Continue.
So even our wives,
Yes.
we should be wise and have boundaries.
All right.
Based alone the buzzword, the buzzword issue, that is something that will not reveal to them. Kwa sababu the moment bibi yako amechua hiyo buzzword, inaweza kuwa ndio weapon atatumia kukumaliza.
And William, you sound like a gentleman who's been on this earth for quite a number of years. I'll assume digital age uliipata. For you, imekuwaje the whole privacy dini, maybe kwa ndoa?
Mimi nisaona hiyo mambo kwa muda mrefu. Nisaona a state where hata mwanamke anachukua pesa ya familia anaweka kwa account. Mwanaume akitaka hata kukopa.
All right.
Unasikia huyu bibi yake.
Okay.
Anaenda anachukua pesa ya familia kwa account, alafu anapatia papa bwana yako.
Okay.
Na anamwambia hiyo ni ya chama, amemkopea itarudi na interest. So you can imagine if it is your wife amechukua hizi pesa, ameenda kuchukua kwa account yako, na anakupea kama pesa ya chama mulipe na interest. Ni pesa, huyu ni mtu wako yule unaita you are better half. My friend, how can you trust these people?
Right. Interesting. Asante sana William for sharing.
Alafu
Yes.
Kuna text zile kama mwanaume, kuna mambo ile inakuanga yako. For example, kama your sister akikwambia nitumie pesa ninunue dawa.
Si lazima
mwambie kwamba kesho nitakutumia.
Yeah.
Wacha nione vile nitafanya. Na sasa hiyo kuna kitu bibi yake alikuwa anataka nywele ukamkataza. Lakini kwa sababu umeona essence yake ya dawa.
Okay.
Unaamua kwamba maybe utaenda uongea na mwalimu ukate maybe ni 2,000 kwa school fee.
Okay.
Kuja kulipa baadaye.
Right.
So hiyo wisdom ya mwanaume he commands that uwe na some kind of privacy and secrecy.
Right.
Hiyo ndoa iweze kuendelea mpaka wakati utakufa.
Right.
Lakini ukiwa open hiyo ndoa inakufa.
Right. So asante sana William. I hope watu wengi sana wamesikiliza maneno yako. Na hata tukimalizia naona muda pia nayo imekimbia. He raises quite a number of issues quite similarly to even the other gentleman. Ni kama watu wako even above 40s huko. They bring up some whole different issues here. Nasim, what do you make of his sentiments?
I like what he said towards the end, in the sense that there are certain things you do need to tell your partner in terms of transparency, but then again, for peace sake, there are certain things you can work around them. It's not that you're hiding, it's not like you're keeping secret, but you know, if I bring this up, then it will bring issues, and it's something that is not directly affecting my partner and everything, so there's no need. It's we call them white lies. You know.
Yet there's a whole other danger if yes, you had worked around it, but huyo mwingine ataona mbona ukuniambia unanidanganya.
No, that's the thing. I feel, and that's what I was saying, this topic of transparency and privacy is very subjective, because there are people who don't mind the white lies as long as you know, the end justifies the means. But now there are people that don't believe in the whole aspect of the end justifies the means. They want to know every little detail. So how well do you know your partner?
All right. So even as we wrap it up, different various, some are for it, some are against it. We're asking you, should spouses share passwords? Chiku Chikai, yes, even M-Pesa PIN for married ones. Eric Omondi, to avoid the issue of unclaimed finances, they should. Something interesting here. Lumumba Laz, a husband and wife are supposedly one, so to say nothing's supposed to be a secret. Baristadi, watu wanakuwa na majina zingine very complex. Nyebsaris, no problem, but why? Living in suspicion, just divorce. Leani Mbone, can't see problem there. There are a number of comments here that are varying. Some are for this, some are really against it. Just to sum it up, Daktari, a takeaway home. What should someone know this morning when it comes to either bado wako soko wanajaribu kuona venye tengito relationship, or do they need to know when it comes to privacy versus transparency, where do they draw the line? And even for someone who's already in a relationship or even marriage, how do they tackle? They've had quite a number of mistakes in the past. Zingine zimeingiza kwa mashida, so they're wondering, how do I have that balance?
I believe the most important thing is to pray for wisdom. But know one thing. Today we are having a protest by Gen Zs. What are they asking for? Transparency. They want to know how
accountability.
And accountability.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if you're getting to a relationship, remember that transparency is one of the most important things that will keep that relationship. You don't have to explain the details of where you're going. You can even be going overnight somewhere, but you don't have to say, I will be with this and so and so and so and so and so. But the fact that you're transparent that you're going somewhere, that is very, very important. So if you're planning to get into a relationship, know that transparency is one thing that you must get into eventually. Number two, you have to realize some of these things will not happen at once. It's a process. You have to be ready. There are those things you know that along the process of life, as I get to trust my partner more, I will let them know this and that. Number three, you have to weigh yourself and know what is that thing that I will not tell my partner that can destroy his life completely or her life completely. Because there's some information that if you weigh carefully and you know, I have had a relationship when I told them that I aborted, nikawachwa. Wapili, I got into a relationship, I also was very transparent, I told them I aborted, nikawachwa. Maybe it's a high time now you accept that it happened, and this other time you will not open your mouth and say about it. You die with that secret because it has always affected you. Nobody is ready to accept you the way you are. Then along the journey of that relationship, maybe in the future, when everything is well settled and you know now you can trust your spouse that you have, then you may be able to drop that shell, and since they have already accepted you, they will stay with you. So weigh carefully. But I end by saying transparency is very important, but also respecting each other's privacy is very important. Have agreement on how some of the rules on how to use what we call the phone etiquette. If you get into a relationship, agree early. So that when you get in, if the guy has said, mi simu yangu yangali yangwi, and the lady has also said, yangu si yangali yange, then you get into that relationship knowing those are the boundaries.
But they can change though.
They can change, but set them early.
Set them early.
Yeah, there are people who say the bare minimum. Mi nikikupata ukifanya hivi, I will not stay in this relationship. It's just like work. They tell you if you miss work 3 times, we'll fire you. So you get in there knowing this is the condition of my spouse, so you know what you're getting into. So I would say have a conversation about these issues early enough before you get into them.
Right. Allow me to take that as your last words.
Yes.
And just a whole wise words that you've given us. Nasim Katha, psychologist, as well as founder of Hugs Foundation, and Dr. Julius Kimani, thank you very much. Just to wrap it up, 3 messages on our Facebook page, because this conversation continues on our digital platforms, and TV47KE on Facebook. Nasi Omologoli anasema that's a private code that should not be shared. Collins Ombaso, they should. John Kitaka, yes, if we'll share Grave as well, with some rubbish emojis up hivyo. That is our conversation this morning on Relationship Wednesday. Privacy versus transparency. Think about it this particular Monday, or rather Wednesday morning. From matters relationships, something that we're not going to be keeping a secret for you, how to cook chicken as well as rice. Some very nice, tantalizing kuku